Today we're looking at 5 questions that if you can answer a yes to, show that you shouldn't hire a financial advisor. One of the most common assumptions is that everyone needs a financial advisor to retire successfully, but that's just not always true. For some retirees, hiring a financial advisor just isn't the right move. And that's exactly why we're making the video today, to help you answer some key questions to determine why you might not need a financial advisor, even though most firms are going to tell you otherwise. Let's get right into it. Now, briefly, let's level set what it is that a financial advisor does and why it tends to matter. It's not about stock picking or beating the market. An advisor is a guide to walk with you on your retirement journey, to help you make all of the decisions that you get faced with: Social Security timing, pensions, minimizing taxes, creating an income plan, and to help you avoid some of the mistakes that have big, hairy, real-life consequences. That being said, not everybody needs that help, and so let's get into the questions. First off, do you have an investment strategy, and are you comfortable executing that strategy? Retirement's a long game, and there are plenty of investment strategies out there. As a friend of mine would say, there's a lot of different ways to score a touchdown. Here's the key. Do you have an actual strategy, and is it geared toward retirement? This is something that takes into account generating enough income to live on, optimizing the balance of paying taxes now versus in the future, growing the pool of money to help you last 30 plus years, and making sure you're not taking too much risk while you're doing it. Think about it this way. Here's the test here. If you struck up a conversation with somebody in a bar or on a train and you got to talking about retirement and they asked you what your investment strategy was, could you tell them what it was and why it was right for you? And does it take into account all of those things that I just mentioned a minute ago? If so, good on you. You got the first one nailed. Let's move on to the second one. Now, I have a buddy who loves to go on cruises, and he watches cruise videos on YouTube, learning about all the latest stuff, the newest ships that are coming out, the features, how to find the best deals, all of that. Here's the thing. He's super interested in this stuff, but not because he's trying to build a cruise ship or start a travel company. He likes to learn about them because it's an area of interest for him. Now, you might think that I just veered off track, but I didn't. Here's how it applies to number 2. Are you constantly reading financial research and keeping up on the latest trends, the changes to the laws that impact retirement, and staying up to date with global financial markets? Now, you might have just heard that and laughed, but I've met more than a few folks in my years of doing this that can answer that question with a strong yes. I talk a lot about doing things that fill your cup, that bring you joy. If learning about all of this stuff is a joy bringer to you, it's a good sign you might not need a financial advisor. Now, there's a key point of delineation here. Like my buddy who loves the cruise videos, you may like to learn all about financial planning and investments and retirement, but are you comfortable applying that information to your own situation? Are you just trying to stay up to date, or are you trying to build a cruise ship? Now, don't get me wrong. Planning your own retirement is infinitely easier than building a cruise ship. There's a lot that goes into it, but we're not building a cruise ship here. But it's the same premise. Gathering knowledge is one thing, but you also have to be comfortable that you can apply that knowledge successfully for this one to be true for you. Now, if you do want some extra help planning your retirement, or if you want to find out if I'm the right person for you, click the first link in the description. You can schedule a one-on-one consultation with me at no cost to you. Next up, what's your temperament? Can you stay the course when all the emotional chaos is happening around you? I know that sounds kind of ominous, but here's the rub. When I was a young pup financial advisor, one of my mentors sat me down and he said, you probably got into this business because you like numbers and you thought it would be cool to work in finance. And you know what? He was right. That's basically how it went. What he said next was this, and it had a profound enough impact on me that almost 15 years later, I'm reciting it to you in a YouTube video. He said, more than anything, you're a behavior coach. This job has very little to do with numbers. And he was exactly right. I've said it before. I think I said it a couple of minutes ago in the video, but a good advisor is like a guide. They help keep you on track as you're walking through the jungle of the retirement system. Here's the thing though, you might not need that. Here's how you know. Now there's 2 tests here. When you've had stressful periods in life, financial or otherwise, when the times get tough, as they say, test number 1, do you remain calm? Do you take it in stride and separate the emotion of the situation to begin to find the best path forward? Test number 2, when that happens, do you seek outside counsel? Do you reach out to your friends, your family, your mentors, or other folks? Or do you kind of look inside, go to the sort of quiet place and figure out the problem? If you answered yes to both of those 2 things, you stay pretty calm in the storm, and you tend to find your own way out of things, you might not need to hire a guide. I know that sounds goofy, but here's the thing. I don't care as a financial advisor what the market is doing today, or what someone's returns were last year, or any of that short-term stuff, because we're planning for a 30-plus year retirement here, and at some point in that time, likely at multiple points during that journey, the storms are coming. And when they get here, you either need to be the person who can be their own guide, or you need to have a guide with you. One isn't right, one isn't wrong, but just know that there are crappy times and they are inevitable, and that's a value that an advisor brings to the table. Now, it might not be a value to you. You might not need that person. If so, that's another great sign that you don't need a financial advisor. On to reason number 4, we're cooking here. Do you hear things or read things on the internet or watch things on financial YouTube videos and go like, yeah, well, obviously, guy, why is this guy wasting my time telling me this? I already know that. Because you assume that basically everybody knows this stuff. If so, there's a good chance you spent a lot of time learning and studying and understanding the financial system, whether you realize you did or not. If you know what your full retirement age is, and you can answer me before I finish this sentence, if you know the difference between the taxation of an IRA distribution and of an after-tax stock sale, if you can tell me what asset location is and why it matters and how to implement it, you've got top-notch financial knowledge, and you might not need to bother with somebody to give you advice on that stuff. For a lot of folks, most of what I just said sounded kind of like French, but if you were with me the whole time, you got above average financial knowledge for sure, and while that's not the only test, it's a good sign that you can take care of this stuff on your own because it shows that you've invested some serious time in expanding your knowledge. Now on to the last one. There's some real stakes to this stuff, whether you're equipped for it or not. Just by spending the time to watch this video, you understand that. You wouldn't take time out of your day to watch this if you didn't think that. So the last test is this. Are you prepared to be the final authority, the last call, the buck stops here person for your retirement? Lots of decisions that you have to make in retirement are one-time only decisions. You don't get a do-over. As I like to say, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. So even if you got all the other stuff we just talked about handled, you got to be comfortable applying this stuff to your own situation. Now, I tend to see 3 varieties of people throughout the course of my career. The first one knows that this just isn't their jam. They want to hire somebody to help, and that's that. The second one has a lot of the knowledge, the understanding. They got a really good handle on this stuff, but they still want somebody to bounce the ideas off of before making any decisions. They also tend to seek out a financial advisor because of that. And the third one, they got all the knowledge. They're comfortable calling the shots. That person not only doesn't need an advisor, if they try to work with one, it's probably going to turn out to be a bad experience for both of them. It's a too many cooks in the kitchen kind of thing. If that's you, and I've met some of you, and it is, you don't need me. Enjoy the videos, keep learning, expanding your knowledge, and by all means, be a do-it-yourselfer. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Now here's the thing. Even though we just learned why you shouldn't always hire a financial advisor, everybody's situation is different, and for many of you, this video is not going to be enough to make that decision. If you want a little help, a little bit of clarity on whether an advisor is right for you based on your exact situation, click the link in the description to book a call with me, and I'll see you next week.